Admiral Minho Kim pressed his palm against the cold metal of the observation window. Beyond the thick glass, space stretched endlessly, dotted with distant stars that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Today marked another, routine check of the Sol system, and like every day for the past 250 years, he expected nothing. The automated probe drifted toward the docking bay, its sensors dark and silent. Minho had watched this same scene play out thousands of times. The probe would dock, download its data, and confirm what everyone already knew. Earth remained as quiet as a tomb. "Sir, the probe is back," called Lieutenant Heejin Lee from her workstation. Her young face showed the same disappointment that Minho had felt when he first started this assignment 30 years ago. Fresh recruits always hoped they might be the ones to detect something new from the mysterious blue planet. Dr. Soo-young Park walked over to join them at the observation deck. Her grey hair was tied back in a neat bun, and her tired eyes held the weight of decades spent studying dead worlds. As the station's chief xenobiologist, she had examined the remains of 47 failed civilizations. Earth was just another number in her files. "Same result?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Minho nodded. Radio silence. No electromagnetic signatures, no heat signatures from major population centers, nothing. Dr. Park pulled up the historical data on her tablet. The information glowed softly in the dim light of the observation deck. Earth's last transmission was received on March 15, 2157. It was a simple weather report from something called the National Weather Service. Then, nothing. Heejin studied the data with fresh eyes. "What do you think happened to them?" "The humans, I mean." Dr. Park had been asked this question countless times by countless young officers. She always gave the same answer. "Every species goes through this phase," she said, settling into the explanation she had given so many times before. "Rapid technological advancement without wisdom. They develop faster than their judgment can keep up." She gestured toward the screen showing Earth's blue and green surface. The humans had nuclear weapons, chemical pollution, climate disruption, and artificial intelligence all at the same time. Most species can barely handle one of those challenges. "So what happened to them?" Heejin pressed. "They either destroy themselves completely, or they revert to primitive living, or—" Dr. Park paused. She had never spoken the third possibility out loud, though it haunted her thoughts during the long night shifts. "Or what?" Minho asked, though he suspected he knew what she was thinking. "Or they find a way to hide," Dr. Park whispered. "But that's impossible. Our sensors would detect any advanced civilization within 100 light-years." The three of them stood in silence, watching Earth rotate slowly on their screens. The planet looked peaceful from space. White clouds swirled over blue oceans and brown continents. It was hard to imagine that this quiet world had once been home to billions of intelligent beings. "The younger species ask about Earth sometimes," Heejin said. "The Altarians especially. They want to know what happens when a species develops too fast." Minho understood why. The Altarians were currently going through their own rapid technological growth. They had recently developed faster than light travel and were eager to explore the galaxy. Stories about Earth served as a warning. "Earth has become our greatest cautionary tale," Dr. Park said. "We tell the new species about the humans who reached for the stars but forgot to look where they were stepping." The automated systems chimed softly, indicating that the probe had finished downloading its data. As expected, the report showed no signs of intelligent life on Earth. The planet's surface temperature remained stable, the oceans were clean. The atmosphere was surprisingly healthy for a world that had supposedly died from environmental collapse. "That's strange," Heejin said, studying the atmospheric readings. "For a dead world, Earth's air quality is remarkably good." Dr. Park frowned and pulled up historical comparisons. "You're right. When the humans went silent, their atmosphere was heavily polluted. These readings show it's actually cleaner now than it was 300 years ago." "Natural recovery," Minho suggested. 2.5 centuries is enough time for a planet to heal itself. But Dr. Park wasn't convinced. She had studied enough dead worlds to know that natural recovery usually took much longer. Something felt wrong about Earth, though she couldn't put her finger on what. The galactic trade routes had been rerouted around the Sol system decades ago. There was no profit in visiting a dead world, and most species found the empty system depressing. Earth had become a graveyard that everyone preferred to forget. Should we recommend another deep scan? Hyejin asked. Minho shook his head. The Council voted on this last year. Earth is classified as monitored but inactive. We're only required to check for basic life signs, not conduct detailed surveys. As they prepared to file their daily report, none of them noticed the faint energy signature that the probe's sensors had briefly detected before it was mysteriously scrubbed from the data. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in installations that no alien probe had ever found, humanity was very much alive and very much watching. Captain Jaewon Choi walked through the corridors of New Seoul, 3 kilometers beneath the surface of what the aliens believed was a dead planet. The underground city stretched for miles in every direction, its walls lined with gleaming metal and soft blue lights that mimicked natural sunlight. Children played in the parks built under artificial skies, while their parents worked in laboratories, and factories that the galaxy above had never imagined could exist. Jaewon's footsteps echoed softly as he made his way to the command center. The daily intelligence briefing was about to begin, and today's report would be particularly important. Their outer system monitoring posts had detected increased alien activity near Jupiter's moons. "Captain on deck," announced Lieutenant Yura. Nam as Jaewon entered the central command room. The chamber was filled with holographic displays showing every corner of the solar system. Dozens of officers sat at their stations, monitoring signals from across the galaxy. "At ease," Jaewon said, settling into his chair at the main console. "What do we have today, Lieutenant?" Yura pulled up the morning's data on the central display. "They sent another probe, sir. Galactic Council monitoring station designated Alpha 77. Same orbital pattern as always, same scanning frequencies. The probe completed its standard sweep and returned to base without detecting any of our installations." Jaewon smiled. The aliens had been sending the same type of probe for decades, never changing their methods or improving their sensors. It made humanity's job of staying hidden much easier. Commander Taehyung-oh approached the display, his weathered face showing approval. Taehyung had been one of the original architects of humanity's great deception, and he took pride in how well their plan had worked. Excellent. They still believe we destroyed ourselves 2.5 centuries ago. "Sir," said Yura, "we intercepted some interesting communications from their monitoring station. The officers there were discussing Earth's atmospheric readings. They seem confused about why our air is so clean for a supposedly dead world." Taehyung chuckled. "Let them wonder. Our environmental restoration projects have been working better than we hoped. Earth's surface is cleaner now than it was when we went underground." Jaewon called up historical files on his personal display. The decision to hide had been made in 2157, when humanity's deep space telescopes had first detected the alien monitoring network watching Earth. Instead of making contact, world leaders had chosen a different path. "Remind me why we decided to stay hidden," said a young ensign named Min-jae Park, who had recently joined the intelligence division. Commander Taehyung turned to address the room. "Because we were smart enough to realize we weren't ready. The aliens had technology we couldn't match, political systems we didn't understand, and military capabilities that could have wiped us out if they decided we were a threat. So we chose to watch and learn," Jaewon continued. "We made the world's surface look abandoned while we built our real civilization underground and in space. The plan had worked perfectly. Using advanced tunneling technology, humanity had carved out vast cities beneath every major continent. The surface installations were carefully camouflaged or built to look like natural formations. From space, Earth appeared to be a quiet, empty world, slowly recovering from some unknown disaster." Major Doyun Kang entered the command center, carrying a thick stack of data files. As the head of alien intelligence, he knew more about extraterrestrial civilizations than anyone else on Earth. "Good morning, everyone. I have updates on 17 different species that we've been monitoring." He activated a holographic display showing detailed information about various alien races. "The Galactic Council consists of 43 member species, but only 17 have significant military or technological capabilities. We've identified their strengths, weaknesses, political structures, and military tactics. J1 studied the display with interest. Each alien species was represented by a detailed profile, including their biology, technology level, and behavioral patterns. Humanity had been collecting this information for over 2 centuries. The Corellians have superior weapons technology, but poor strategic thinking, Major Doyun explained. The Vespians are excellent engineers, but have weak military forces. The Altarians are aggressive but lack discipline in their ranks. And none of them know we exist, added Commander Taehyung with satisfaction. While the aliens believed Earth was empty, humanity had actually expanded far beyond their home planet. Hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, mined resources, and built ships using techniques that left no detectable traces. Massive space habitats housed millions of people, all carefully shielded from alien sensors. Lieutenant Yura brought up another display showing humanity's secret space installations. Our outer system bases report that alien trade ships continue to avoid the Sol system entirely. They've rerouted all major shipping lanes around us. Perfect, said J1. The more they ignore us, the safer we are. But Major Doyun looked troubled as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. There's something else we need to discuss. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected troubling activity in the Rigel sector. A new military alliance calling itself the Hegemony has been attacking smaller civilizations. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this could mean. They're not just conquering territory, Doyun continued. They're enslaving entire species and stripping their worlds of resources. If they continue expanding, they'll eventually threaten the entire galaxy. Commander Taehyung studied the tactical displays with growing concern. How long do we have before this becomes our problem? Unknown, sir. But if the hegemony continues at their current pace, they could control half the galaxy within 50 years. J1 realized that humanity's long period of watching and waiting might soon come to an end. Captain Ji-hoon Song sat in the communication center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, watching the emergency broadcasts with growing horror. The holographic displays showed burning planets, fleeing refugee ships, and the terrified faces of alien delegates in the Galactic Council chambers. The hegemony had struck faster than anyone had predicted. 3 entire sectors in 4 months, whispered Communications Officer Soyeon Kim, her voice barely audible above the hum of the quantum receivers. Billions of beings enslaved or killed. Ji-hoon studied the tactical displays showing the hegemony's advance. Their ships moved like a dark wave across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. The alien military forces that had seemed so powerful to humanity were being crushed like insects. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Ambassador Nari, reported Lieutenant Gunwoo Lee from his station. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the Galactic Council chambers. Chaos filled the Great Hall as alien delegates from dozens of species argued frantically. Some called for immediate surrender, while others demanded a fight to the death. In the middle of it all sat Ambassador Nari Shin, humanity's most successful deep-cover operative. For 30 years, Nari had posed as a refugee from a minor species called the Zelani. She had worked her way up through the Galactic Council's diplomatic ranks, gathering intelligence and waiting for the day when humanity might need her information. That day had finally arrived. The situation is worse than our reports indicated. Nari's voice came through the encrypted channel. The hegemony isn't just conquering territory. They're conducting systematic genocide against any species they consider inferior. Ji-hoon felt his stomach tighten. The intelligence reports had been bad enough, but hearing it from someone inside the Galactic Council made it real. They're mobilizing every dormant civilization they can find, Nari continued, sending desperate messages to species that went extinct centuries ago, hoping someone might still be alive to help them. Are they sending a message to Earth? Asked Soyeon. Yes, Nari replied grimly. The Council voted to transmit a final plea to every dead world on their records. Earth is at the top of that list. Within hours, the encrypted message reached General Haunji Moon at the main command center, beneath the Antarctic ice. The facility was humanity's most secure installation, carved out of solid rock 3 kilometers below the surface. It had been built to withstand anything short of a direct nuclear strike. Yunji read the message twice before calling an emergency meeting of the Shadow Council. The 12 most senior military leaders on Earth gathered in the circular chamber, their faces grim in the blue light of the holographic displays. The hegemony has conquered the Rigel, Centauri and Vega sectors, Yunji announced. Intelligence estimates suggest they'll control half the galaxy within 2 years. Admiral Seobin Choi was the first to speak. Her grey hair was pulled back in Chiurindai's, a tight bun, and her sharp eyes showed the hardness of someone who had spent decades preparing for war. We've been watching this galaxy tear itself apart for 250 years. They wrote us off as failures, treated us like we were already dead. Why? Should we risk everything to save them now? Several other commanders nodded in agreement. Humanity had spent centuries being ignored by the galactic community. The aliens had never offered friendship, trade, or even basic recognition. Earth had been nothing more than a cautionary tale to them. But Colonel Hyun Yun stood up from her seat, her young face determined. With respect, Admiral, this isn't about what they did to us. This is about what's right. We have the power to stop genocide, and we're going to debate whether we should use it. The Colonel has a point, said General Daesung Choi, the head of strategic planning. Our intelligence suggests the hegemony won't stop with the current sectors. They're planning to expand across the entire galaxy, which means they'll eventually come for us, added Major Heeman Park, the youngest member of the Shadow Council. We can fight them now while we have the advantage of surprise, or we can wait until they're strong enough to threaten Earth directly. The debate continued for hours. Some argued that humanity should continue hiding, letting the aliens solve their own problems. Others insisted that revealing themselves now would give away the advantages they had spent centuries building. Finally, General Yunji called for a vote. All in favor of military intervention. 7 hands rose slowly around the table. It was enough. All opposed. 5 hands went up, including Admiral Seobin's. The motion passes, Yunji announced. We're going to war. 3 days later, the Galactic Council's desperate message reached Earth's communication arrays. The transmission was broadcast on every frequency the aliens had ever used, begging for help from any civilization that might still exist. The message was simple. To any species receiving this transmission, the galaxy faces extinction. The hegemony has begun systematic genocide of all non-human life. If you have the power to help, please respond. The Galactic Council offers full membership and eternal gratitude to any civilization that aids us in this dark hour. For the first time in 250 years, Earth chose to respond. The reply was transmitted on frequencies the aliens had long forgotten to monitor, using communication protocols that predated their current technology. The message was brief, but carried the weight of humanity's hidden centuries. We hear you, help is coming. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Nari Shin smiled as she received the encrypted confirmation. Humanity was finally ready to reveal itself to the galaxy. Commander Minsu Park checked his instruments one final time as his stealth frigate drifted silently through space. The hegemony flagship floated before them, its massive hull bristling with weapons that could destroy entire planets. But the enemy had no idea that death was hovering just a few hundred meters away. "Cloaking field stable," whispered Lieutenant Somin Yu from her position at the navigation console. "Their sensors show nothing but empty space." Minsu smiled grimly. Humanity's stealth technology had been perfected over 2 centuries of hiding from alien observers. The ships could bend light around their hulls, absorb electromagnetic radiation, and even mask their gravitational signatures. To enemy sensors, they simply didn't exist. "Begin Phase 1, Minsu ordered quietly. His crew moved with the precision of a surgical team. Engineer Wonbin Choi activated the quantum phase manipulators, allowing their ship to pass through the enemy hull like it was made of air. Within seconds, they were inside the hegemony flagship, floating in the main hangar bay. Deploying infiltration. "Drones," reported systems specialist Ji Wuhan. Dozens of tiny robots, each no bigger than a grain of rice, spread throughout the enemy ship. They moved through air vents and crawled along walls, seeking out critical systems. The drones reached their targets within minutes. Power conduits, weapon controls, navigation systems, and communication arrays were all quietly disabled by microscopic charges that left no trace. The hegemony crew continued their duties, unaware that their ship had just been rendered helpless. "Mission complete," Jiwoo announced. "All weapons systems offline. They can't fight back." "Take us out," Minsu ordered. The stealth frigate phased back through the hull and disappeared into space, leaving the enemy flagship floating dead in the water. Its crew would not discover what had happened until they tried to fire their weapons. Across 17 star systems, the same scene played out simultaneously. Hundreds of human ships struck at the heart of the hegemony fleet, appearing from nowhere to disable their most powerful vessels. The attacks were so coordinated and precise that many hegemony commanders thought they were experiencing equipment failures rather than enemy action. Admiral Boram Han watched the tactical displays from her command ship, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant's moon. Her fleet of ghost ships moved through enemy formations like they were swimming through water. The hegemony's sensors could detect nothing, their weapons could target nothing, and their commanders were starting to panic. "Quantum disruptors are performing perfectly," reported Captain Yejin Kwon from the lead attack vessel. "Enemy ships are being disabled faster than they can react. The quantum disruptors were humanity's most advanced weapons. Instead of destroying enemy ships, they scrambled the molecular bonds that held their hulls together. Hegemony vessels simply fell apart, their crews left floating in escape pods, while their mighty warships crumbled into harmless debris. Remember, Admiral Boram transmitted to her fleet, we disable, not destroy. Our goal is to stop the killing, not add to it. This philosophy had been debated heavily in the Shadow Council. Many commanders had argued for total destruction of the hegemony forces. But humanity had chosen a different path. They would win through superior tactics and technology, not through massacre. On the bridge of the hegemony command ship, Fleet Admiral Korak stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. Half his fleet had gone silent in the past hour, and he had no idea what was attacking them. "Report," he barked at his communications officer. "Sir, we're receiving impossible readings from across the fleet. Ships are reporting total system failures, but there's no sign of enemy vessels anywhere." "That's impossible. Nothing can hide from our sensors." But even as he spoke, Korax watched another squadron of his ships go dark on the tactical display. Whatever was attacking them, it was unlike anything the hegemony had ever faced. The alien communication networks were buzzing with panicked reports. Refugee ships fleeing the hegemony advance suddenly found their pursuers drifting helplessly in space. Galactic Council monitoring stations detected massive disruptions in hegemony formations, but their sensors showed no attacking forces. "It's like they're fighting ghosts," transmitted one terrified hegemony officer before his signal cut out. In the hidden observation post near Rigel, Ambassador Nari Shin monitored the communications with growing excitement. The aliens still had no idea that humans were responsible for the attacks. They were describing impossible phenomena: ships that appeared from empty space, weapons that disabled without destroying, and tactics that seemed to predict every move. The hegemony made. "The enemy knows our battle plans before we make them," one hegemony commander reported. "They're always one step ahead." What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity had been studying their military tactics for over 2 centuries. Every battle the hegemony had ever fought had been recorded and analyzed by human intelligence. Their strategies, weaknesses, and behavioral patterns were as familiar to human commanders as their own. Captain Ju-hyun Lee received authorization from Admiral Boram to begin the final phase of the operation. Her ship powered up its long-range transmitters and sent a message on every frequency the hegemony used for military communications. The ultimatum was broadcast simultaneously to every hegemony commander in 17 star systems. "This is the human fleet. You have invaded sovereign territories and committed genocide against innocent populations. Withdraw all forces to your home systems immediately. Release all captured populations. You have 72 hours to comply with these demands." The message continued. "Any hegemony vessel that attempts hostile action will be disabled. Any commander who refuses to withdraw will find their ships helplessly adrift in space. This is your only warning. For the first time in galactic history, the unstoppable hegemony found itself facing an enemy it could not see, could not fight, and could not defeat. President Kyungmin Bey walked slowly across the polished floor of the Galactic Council chambers, her footsteps echoing in the vast hall that had been built for beings much larger than humans. The alien delegates sat in stunned silence, their various eyes, stalks, and sensors all focused on the small figure. Approaching the central podium, for 250 years this chamber had operated under the assumption that humanity was extinct. Earth's nameplate had been removed from the Council records, and the Sol system had been marked as a dead zone on all galactic maps. Now, a living human stood before them, representing a civilization that had supposedly destroyed itself centuries. Behind President Bey, Admiral Young-ho Kim and General Seo-hyun Choi stood at attention in their crisp military uniforms. Both officers had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment, studying alien military tactics and developing the technologies that had just forced the mighty hegemony into complete retreat. Honored delegates, President Bey began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. I am President Kyungmin Bey of the United Earth Federation. I stand before you today to formally announce humanity's return to the galactic community. The chamber erupted in whispers and electronic chittering as aliens struggled to process what they were hearing. The Carillion delegate's tentacles waved frantically as he spoke into his communicator. The Vespian ambassador's compound eyes dilated with shock. Even the usually calm Altarian representative seemed agitated. We chose silence not from weakness but from wisdom, President Bey continued, waiting for the noise to die down. When we first detected your monitoring networks in 2157, we made a decision that has defined our species for 2.5 centuries. We chose to watch and learn rather than announce our presence. Ambassador Vexitar of the Carillion Republic raised one of his speaking tentacles. Madam President, our records clearly show that Earth civilization collapsed. Your radio transmissions ceased. Your atmospheric readings indicated environmental catastrophe. President Bey smiled gently. We allowed you to see what we wanted you to see. While you believed our world was dying, we were actually healing it. While you thought we had destroyed ourselves, we were building something better. Dr. Minji Han stepped forward from the human delegation, carrying several data tablets that gleamed with advanced technology. As humanity's chief scientist, she had overseen the development of innovations that were centuries ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. We bring gifts, Dr. Han announced, activating the tablets to display holographic projections above the chamber floor. Shield harmonics that can protect entire planets from attack, medical techniques that can extend the lifespan of any known species, agricultural methods that can end food scarcity across the galaxy. The alien delegates leaned forward in their seats, studying the projected data with growing amazement. The shield technology alone could revolutionize planetary defense. The medical advances promised to cure diseases that had plagued some species for millennia. These technologies are offered freely, President Bey said. We seek no payment, no territory, no special privileges. We offer them as proof of our commitment to galactic peace. Chancellor Mordain of the Vespian Collective buzzed his wings nervously. Why? Why reveal yourselves now? Why help us after? We declared your species extinct. Because the alternative was watching genocide, General Seo-hyun replied, stepping forward. The hegemony's conquest threatened not just your civilizations, but the very concept of diversity in the galaxy. We couldn't stand by and let that happen. We don't seek dominance, President Bey continued. We offer partnership. For 250 years, we studied not just your technologies, but your conflicts. We learned that diversity is strength, that cooperation defeats conquest. In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Nari Shin slowly stood up from her seat among the Zalani delegation. For 30 years, she had sat in these very chairs, listening to debates and gathering intelligence while pretending to be a refugee from a minor species. Delegates, Nari said, her voice carrying across the chamber, I must make a confession. I am not Nari of the Zalani. I am Ambassador Nari Shin of Earth, and I have been humanity's representative in this chamber for 3 decades. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled aliens. Some delegates looked angry at being deceived, while others seemed impressed by the depth of humanity's planning. I have watched you debate, argue, and struggle with problems that humanity solved centuries ago, Nari continued. Today I present the framework for the Galactic Defense Initiative, the Chamber's main display activated, showing detailed plans for a new type of military organization. Instead of each species maintaining separate fleets, the initiative would combine the unique strengths of every civilization into a unified peacekeeping force. Carillion weapons technology combined with Vespian engineering, Altarian strategic thinking merged with human stealth capabilities. Each species contributing what they do best, under coordinated leadership. President Bay concluded her address. We have shown that we can defeat the hegemony, but victory in war is meaningless without peace afterwards. Join us in building something better than what came before. High above the chamber, on an orbital monitoring platform that had been disguised as space debris for 50 years, Commander Sungmin-Oh watched the proceedings with satisfaction. He had spent decades listening to alien communications, learning their languages and preparing for this moment. "Command, this is Sungmin," he transmitted to Earth. "The galaxy is listening. I think they're ready to learn." For the first time, in 250 years, humanity was no longer hiding. They had finally spoken, and their words were reshaping the galaxy itself.